They tormented me for years. But tonight, they came to my door, begging for my help. And something followed them out of the darkness, something that does not forgive and never lets go. It had been years since I last saw their faces. The rain outside was steady, tapping against my window like an impatient finger. I sat on the couch, wrapped in the comfort of silence, when a sudden knock broke through the stillness. It was slow at first, then faster. I walked to the door, each step heavy, the sound of my heartbeat growing louder in my ears. When I opened it, they were there, 3 of them, the same people who had made my school years a nightmare. Their hair was wet, placid against their foreheads. Their eyes darted nervously, scanning the dark street behind them. I could smell the dampness from their clothes, mixed with the faint metallic scent of fear. "Please, we need to come inside," one of them said, voice trembling. The streetlight above flickered, casting their faces in shifting shadows. I said nothing, just stared at them. My mind was a storm of old memories. Laughter at my expense. Whispers in the hallways. The feeling of being alone while surrounded by people. Now, they stood here, shivering, desperate, looking at me as if I were their only hope. In the distance, I heard a sound. Low, guttural. It was not the wind. Their eyes widened when they heard it too. Something was out there. Something that had followed them. The sound grew louder. It scraped against the edges of the night, a mix of growl and breath that made the air feel heavier. One of them turned their head sharply, peering into the darkness beyond the flickering streetlight. I could see their hands shaking. The smallest of the 3 stepped forward, almost tripping over the welcome mat. "Please, it is coming," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the rain. I glanced past them. The street was empty, but the shadows between the houses seemed deeper than they should have been. The wind carried a strange smell, wet earth and something faintly rotten. It twisted my stomach. A shape moved at the edge of my vision. Too fast to catch, but enough to make every hair on my arm stand upright. The tallest of the 3 looked at me with eyes wide and wet. "Do you want all of us to die out here?" he said, his voice cracking under the weight of fear. Behind him, the shadows shifted again. This time I saw it, a figure, crouched unnaturally low, its limbs too long, its movements jerky like it did not understand how a body should work. Its head tilted slowly, as if it were studying us. The dim light caught the edge of its face, or what should have been a face. There were no eyes, only stretched, pale skin, rippling with every twitch of its body. The rain seemed to stop for a moment, or maybe my mind just blocked out every sound except the shallow, uneven breathing coming from the thing. One of them whimpered, covering her mouth with both hands. The creature's head snapped toward the sound. Its body unfolded, rising higher than any human should stand. I felt my chest tighten, my own breath trapped somewhere in my throat. The streetlight above us buzzed violently, flickering so fast that everything appeared in broken, jagged images. Step, step. It was moving toward us now, slow, deliberate, as if enjoying the tension. The 3 of them backed up against my door. Their eyes were wild, pleading without words. I stood frozen, one hand still gripping the edge of the door. The smell of rot grew stronger, filling my lungs, making it harder to think. The creature stopped just at the edge of the light, its head tilted again. And then it spoke. The voice was wrong. It was layered, as if a dozen people were speaking at once, each tone sliding over the other. The words crawled into my ears and made my skin tighten. "Give them to me," it said. No shouting, no anger, just a calm, deliberate command. The rain began again, harder this time, hammering the street and drowning every other sound. The 3 of them pressed against me now, their shoulders trembling against my arm. "Please, please do not let it take us," one of them begged, her eyes shining with tears. The thing stepped forward, its feet making no splash in the water pooling on the asphalt. I could see more of it now. Its chest was heaving, but there was no rhythm, no sign of breath. The skin on its arms looked stretched too tight, as if it had been pulled over something that did not belong. It reached out one hand, long fingers ending in sharp, blackened tips. Now, it said again. Something deep inside me twisted. An old part of me that remembered every insult, every shove, every cruel laugh they had thrown at me years ago. And for the first time, I realized I had a choice. The rain blurred everything, but I could still see their faces. Faces that once looked at me with mockery were now carved with fear. The tallest one grabbed my wrist, his grip desperate and clumsy. "You do not understand," he gasped. "If you shut this door, it will not stop with us." The creature's head turned toward him in one slow motion, like a predator locking on to its prey. It took another step. The ground beneath its foot cracked, though it made no sound. Every part of me screamed to slam the door and lock it, to let the night swallow them, to watch from safety as the thing claimed what it came for. But my hand did not move. The creature raised its arm, its fingers curling toward them like hooks. They flinched, pressing against me harder, as if I were a wall holding back a flood. Its voice came again, quieter this time, but colder. "They belong to me." The streetlight above us popped, leaving only darkness and the faint glint of its teeth. For a heartbeat, the world fell hollow. No light, no sound, only the rhythm of my pulse pounding in my ears. Then, from the blackness, two shapes of pale skin began to glow. Its hands. They hovered in the air like ghostly lanterns, inching closer. The rain pressed against my face, cold and sharp, each drop sliding down my cheeks like needles. Behind me, one of them began to pray under their breath, the words stumbling and uneven. The glow from its hands reached the edge of my doorway, brushing over it like frost spreading on glass. The air turned heavy, thick enough to taste like metal and dust. I realized it was breathing in, drawing the warmth out of the space around us. One of them clutched my arm so hard I could feel their nails through my sleeve. The thing leaned forward, its mouth stretching wider than it should, rows of teeth catching what little light remained. "Choose," it whispered. The sound was inside my head now, curling behind my eyes, pushing against my thoughts. And my hand finally moved toward the door. My fingers curled around the edge of the door, though it felt slick under my grip, rainwater running in small rivulets down to the threshold. Behind me, the three of them gasped, their voices overlapping in a tangle of pleading. The creature waited motionless, its glowing hands steady in the darkness. It did not need to rush. It knew the weight of the decision pressing on me. I thought of the years I spent shrinking into corners, trying to disappear when they approached. The laughter that rang in my ears long after the hallways had emptied. The moments I wished someone, anyone, would stand at my side. No one ever did. Now, I was the only one standing between them, and the thing outside. The rain fell harder, soaking my hair, running down, into my eyes. I could barely see, but I could feel the heat of their bodies press against my back. And beneath that heat, the slow, cold breath of the creature curling over my skin. I took one long, steady breath, and then I began to close the door. The hinges groaned as the gap narrowed. A thin slice of the outside world remained, a strip of darkness with two faintly glowing hands suspended within it. They did not move, but I could feel the creature's attention tighten, like a rope pulling taut. The tallest one cried out, shoving against me, trying to force the door back open. His shoulder slammed into mine, sending a jolt of pain through my arm. The thing outside twitched. Its head snapped at an unnatural angle, and for the first time it stepped closer, pressing its face toward the narrowing crack. I saw the skin ripple over something moving beneath it, something alive. Its voice seeped through the gap, softer now, almost coaxing. "You are one of us." The words rooted into me, colder than the rain, and for a moment my grip on the door loosened. The smallest of the three screamed, yanking me back to myself. I shoved harder. The crack between us and the thing shrank to less than an inch, and then a single, clawed hand shot through the opening. Its fingers clamped around the doorframe, digging deep enough to splinter the wood. The sound was sharp, like bone snapping. I could feel the vibrations in my hands as the creature pushed. Its strength inhuman. The door jerked open another inch despite my full weight pressing against it. Cold air flooded in, smelling of earth freshly turned over, and something sweet, almost like decay. One of them shrieked and grabbed my shoulder, pulling me away from the door. But I did not let go. The creature's hand twitched, its claws flexing as if tasting the space between us. Its skin was cold and slick, almost oily, catching the faint light from inside my house. Then, with a sudden violent motion, it slammed its palm against a gap, forcing the door wide enough for its head to push through. Its mouth stretched impossibly far, teeth glistening like shards of broken glass. The smallest one stumbled backward, her heel catching on the rug. The creature's jaw opened even wider, and it lunged. I yanked the door sideways with all the force I had, twisting my body to slam it against the thing's head. The impact was sickening, a deep, wet crack followed by a sound like fabric tearing. But it did not scream. It only laughed. The sound was wrong, a chorus of mismatched voices echoing inside the walls. Its claws scraped along the frame, tearing deep grooves into the wood as I shoved again. The tallest of the three finally moved to help, slamming his shoulder into the door beside me. The creature's head snapped back, teeth snapping inches from my face. Its glowing hands curled in, gripping the edges of the frame like iron hooks. The wood began to splinter further under its strength. Then, suddenly, it stopped. The glow from its hands dimmed. Its head tilted, slowly, until it was staring, not at me, but at them. It spoke again, the words crawling over my skin like insects. They remember what they did to you. So do I. And then it pushed harder than before. The door shuddered under force, every hinge screaming in protest. I could feel my grip slipping, my arms aching with the strain. The three of them were crying now, raw, broken sound that filled the narrow space behind me. The creature's face pressed through the widening gap, its teeth glinting in the thin beam of light from the hallway. I knew then that I could not stop it forever, but I could choose who it reached first. I stepped aside. The tallest one's eyes locked with mine, confusion flashing for only a second before the creature's hand closed around his chest. He was yanked into the darkness, so fast the others barely had time to scream. The sound that followed was wet and final. The remaining two stumbled back, pressing themselves against the wall, their faces pale and wet with rain and tears. The thing lingered in the doorway, its head turning toward me. It did not speak this time. It only smiled a slow, knowing curl of its too wide mouth before retreating into the night, taking the man with it. The rain swallowed the sound of its footsteps until there was nothing left but silence. I shut the door. This time I locked it